When I, 32 male, was 19, I cheated on my girlfriend. I understand it was a crappy thing for me to do and I regret it. When my ex found out I cheated, she decided to tell my parents. When my parents were informed of what I did, they kicked me out and scolded me, telling me I was a disappointment. I tried multiple times to beg them to give me another chance, but they told me they wanted nothing to do with me. I told them I had nowhere else to go, and they told me I was an adult and needed to deal with it alone. I had a friend, 34 male, who was 21 at the time, and he allowed me to stay with him. I was grateful, but still felt hurt that my family didn't want anything to do with me anymore. I even thought about suicide and would most likely have killed myself if I didn't have the support of my friend. My friend became my lifeline. He told me to stop focusing on those who don't want me in their life and was even more hurt that my sister-in-law would keep such a massive secret for 7 years. When I refused, it led to my sister-in-law getting mad at me. She started saying how I should forgive them, how I'm holding on to grudges, and how they're remorseful for not keeping in touch. This just angered me even more, and it led to us getting into a screaming match. This eventually led to my husband kicking his sister out. Not even an hour after she left, I got texts from my sister and brothers begging to talk to me. I didn't understand why they wanted to finally speak to me after over a decade. I didn't care and just blocked their numbers. However, my husband sided with his sister, telling me that her approach wasn't right. Still, she was right about me needing to forgive my family. This upset me and I told them they had years to reach out to me and missed their chance. I told him I came to terms with them not being in my life and I'm okay with that. He then told me it's not good to hold on to anger and that I should try forgiving them. He then told me I should forgive them for me and not them so I could move on. When he said that, it hurt my feelings and I started to yell at him and told him that I had moved on and that when they kicked me out, they lost their right to call me family. I told him he was my only support system through that and he saw how I felt during those times. I told him his saying I should forgive them hurts more than what they did to me. He apologized, told me he didn't mean to dismiss my feelings and only wanted what was best for me. That happened 3 days ago and my sister-in-law is still trying to get me to meet my family. I had to block her number while my husband hasn't blocked her and is still receiving messages over him apologizing for overstepping but going back on her words about me needing to meet them and started sending pictures of my nephews that I didn't know I had, told me that I'm missing out on being an uncle. Not the idiot, OP. You cheated and they decided to kick you out over it. They kicked you out and willingly went zero contact with you and kept your sister-in-law as a handy source of info for all this time, rather than displaying any actual remorse towards you. Why now, after 7 years of opportunities, chances and time? They knew where you were. The thing is, they had 7 whole damn years in which they apparently knew perfectly well where to find you and clearly even had your damn number. Yep, why now? Money? Caretaker for sick or elderly relative? Somebody needs an organ? It could be that the family wants to put all this behind them and conveniently forget the pain they caused. But who's to say there isn't a motive? It's not even one person gradually trying to re-enter and talk it out. Everyone's back in full force. Yeah, somebody needs an organ, LOL. Kidney, liver. Someone's dying and needs a donor. Or free babysitter for the nephews OP didn't even know existed. Sister-in-law thrives on drama and is an incredible steaming idiot here. She essentially spied on you for almost a decade. That's actually insane. She's been reporting on you to people you're in no contact with for 7 years. No wonder you felt betrayed. She can screw off sideways and forever. And good news, your family deigns to acknowledge you now. Now? They can screw right off too. My daughter Ella is a teen. When she started high school last year, we were told the band would go on this field trip to Orlando. Of course, the trip was expensive. Since Ella is growing up, my husband and I decided she would have to pay half of the cost if she wanted to go. Ella agreed and started spending weekends or teacher workdays on holidays babysitting her siblings, a male kindergartner and a female tween, for $22 an hour. Either my husband or I would stay home and make sure everything was alright, and if there were times that both of us had to be out of the house, we'd ask our neighbours to keep an eye out and pay Ella $25 an hour. We were never gone for more than 2 hours. With babysitting, some family members graciously providing her with money to help her out, cleaning and some money she'd already saved, Ella made a good amount of money, which we were so proud of her for, and made sure to voice this to her. Ella could make enough money quickly, so we planned to sign her up for the trip. But earlier this week, I was informed that Ella had been mistreating a girl in her grade for having a mental illness, writing awful notes and putting them in the girl's bag, spreading disgusting and derogatory rumors and posting things about her online. It's a whole mess. When I was called in, I could barely even listen the moment after I was told my daughter was bullying someone. I thought I'd raised her right and told her to treat everyone respectfully and with kindness. I've never seen any signs or behaviour that would ever indicate that Ella even thought badly about others, and now, after all these years, I'm told that she fat-shamed a younger teen girl. Her excuse is that someone with an illness shouldn't be allowed to get a higher test score than her. Ella was given a suspension, but it was very short. The school's motto is that they don't tolerate bullying, yet it feels as if she was only given a slap on the wrist and told not to do it again. It also feels wrong that I'm feeling this way, but I think more should be done. The girl Ella had bullied is also in the band, and I'm pretty sure she will be going to Orlando. Would it be wrong if I didn't allow Ella to go on the trip? She paid for half of the trip, but I don't think she deserves to go. I can't think of any other way to punish her. She loves to read and isn't on her phone often. She has many friends but doesn't hang out with them often. What am I supposed to do? Take away her books and make her hang out with her friends more? Yeah, I think the trip is a good lesson, but my husband and good friend don't agree with the decision because Ella worked for that money. I understand what they mean, which is why, of course, I'll let Ella keep what she earned, just not let her go on that trip. I don't want that girl to have any possibility of being bullied again. Am I the idiot if I didn't let my daughter go on a trip, even though she paid for it? Not the idiot. She did a great job earning the money for her band trip. She bullied another kid and had to face the consequences. Both of these things can be and are true. It sounds like a fair punishment to me. The result is that she lost the privilege to go on this cool trip. Even though it's been in the works for a long time, the trip is still a privilege. She also lost your trust in her ability to behave appropriately when you're not around. So how could you let her go? You obviously want to ensure the girl's emotional safety on the trip, and you can't trust your daughter to help with that. I wish more parents thought like you do. Banning the daughter from going on the trip ensures the girl's emotional safety on the trip. But what about after the trip and before the trip? Why do I seem to be the only one seeing the risk of the bullying getting worse? OP must devise some serious punishments and let the daughter know that if it happens again, she'll be in even worse trouble. It might head off any vindictive behavior. Can you chaperone the trip? If the teacher has enough chaperones, try explaining to the teacher why you'd like to be included. Frankly, I'd say let her go on the trip, but you shadow her every move as if she was still 2 years old, even having her share your hotel room instead of another student, because she's shown that she can't be trusted on her own to behave in a civilized manner. That way, the consequences of losing trust become very clear throughout the trip as she realizes her class sees her being treated like an infant. Basically, she earned the right to go on the trip by earning the money. She also earned direct supervision on that trip by proving she couldn't be trusted otherwise. And overall, I'd address her sense of entitlement. She's not entitled to a better grade than someone else just because she's healthier. My in-laws are furious with me for hurting my brother-in-law's feelings and reputation with my friend group. Recently, my single brother-in-law, Chris, 38 male, has been hinting at me to introduce him to women, and I've refused. Chris has been single for almost 3 years and has difficulty meeting women. He tried flirting with my friend, but she'd been cold and non-receptive. This was my friend Grace, 35 female. Grace is not interested in him due to his inability to be faithful, and she isn't physically attracted to him. He tried to flirtatiously engage with her during a small party my husband and I had last Saturday. My husband got a long-awaited promotion, so we had a little party. During the party, Grace had grown frustrated with his constant flirting and at some point told him in no uncertain terms that she found him physically ugly and that his physical ugliness was only surpassed by the ugliness of his character. She told him this privately, so no other guest had heard her scathing review of his personhood. Chris left the party. The following afternoon, while my husband and I were nursing a wicked hangover, my in-laws, to my surprise, called me to scold me for having abused and embarrassed Chris. After a few minutes of shouting back and forth on the phone, I reminded my husband that handling his family was his job. So, while my husband argued with his parents, I reviewed our security cameras. And honey, Grace verbally tore him apart. Grace reminded him that he cheated and divorced his late ex-wife Lily while she was battling cancer, and that he then got dumped by the mistress for being a cheater as he continued to cheat on her. Grace told him he wasn't a man of any significant value other than the few coins he had in the bank, and that there was no way she'd entertain his delusions of grandeur and beauty in the world. She also said the only thing he had going for him was his overbloated job title as an executive director to a third-rate company that will probably collapse in the next 5 years. As a parting gift, she told him to consider some cosmetic work to improve his haggard appearance and perhaps start praying for divine intervention to fix his rotten soul, since there is no way a psychotherapist could ever come close to fixing whatever is wrong with him. My in-laws and Chris feel that I shouldn't have told my friends what Chris did because he's now perceived by my girlfriends as a terrible person. I told them he was, unfortunately, a terrible person, and people would have always found out what happened between him and the late, great Lily. I then discussed what happened with my colleague, Natasha. She said I was cruel for having told my friend group about what happened between Chris and his ex-wife because Chris had grown a lot in the past 2 years and didn't need to be known for the worst thing he's ever done. Natasha is dating Chris's friend, so she also knows him. FYI, I've only discussed Chris's treatment of Lily with my direct friend group, and that's only 6 people, and half of them already knew as they were also friends with Lily, so it's not like I'm screaming hear ye in the town square. Not the idiot. How can telling the truth be perceived as unfair? Chris did this to himself. It was his behavior that was the problem. Why should you expose your friends to a potentially horrific relationship? You know your brother-in-law is a cheater, but your in-laws want you to keep that from your friend so he can continue to take advantage without consequences. You did the right thing. Oh my word, poor 38-year-old Chris and his delicate ego, running to mummy and daddy to cry that he can't get a girl to kiss him. Wah wah wah. His stellar history and an inability to fight his own battles. Wow. I can't fathom how women aren't breaking down his door to get a piece of him. He's clearly such a hot commodity. Yeah, no sane woman can overlook unfaithful mummy's boys who can't take a hint, nor can they understand the meaning of an outright no to the point that they have to be verbally eviscerated to leave you alone at that. Good God, I don't understand how they can be so delusional. And I'm sorry, but why does it matter if OP talked to her friends about something? Does brother-in-law have such a limited dating pool that the only people he can date are OP's friends? Especially when he has Natasha, who seems to think he's fine and has grown so much in 2 whole years. He should be asking Natasha to set him up with women. OP, he ruined his own reputation by being a crappy person. Your in-laws are enablers, and they apparently can't handle the truth. After my dad married Jane 7 years ago, he started to get really involved in her daughter Amy's teen life. I, a young female teen, felt left out. My life had been tough up to then and I was struggling with everything. I'd lost my mom 2 years before and I also suffered a brain injury and was grieving the loss of a lot of memories of my mom. I was recovering and Dad was distracted with Jane. It was tough, but then my dad got along with Amy so much better and he always seemed much more into the time he spent with her than the time he spent with me. He also shared more of his own interests with her. He took her to special places he adored that he didn't ever take me to, and I wanted to go. He shared with her stuff he didn't share with me. I was jealous and I was hurt. I tried to explain to my dad, but he told me it was selfish to keep him to myself and leave Amy without a dad. He also told me how her dad didn't want to know her, so he needed to fill that role for her. Amy would tell me to accept that Dad liked her better and that he was her dad more than mine now. My dad knew about it and didn't care. He did spend time with me, but it was stuff I liked and he'd act like it was the biggest burden to spend time with me. He fell asleep a few times and he would zone out a lot and leave me to do the stuff alone, even though he was physically there. My grandpa, my dad's dad, noticed and he started spending more time with me and creating a bond with me that we didn't have before. My dad isn't that close to his dad, but Grandpa has been the best. He even loved my mom and he told me how sad it made him when my parents divorced. He's told me stories about her and about her and me that I don't remember any longer. It's been amazing and apparently it's healed a lot of the pain of my dad's lack of interest because my dad noticed and he got so jealous. He confronted me a few days ago saying I was ignoring him and spending too much time with Grandpa. He asked me why I stopped asking about our time together. I said it was very clear he preferred spending time with Amy and couldn't stand time with me, so I'm spending time with someone who enjoys me. He told me I don't have the right to rub my favoritism of Grandpa in his face. I called him a hypocrite and told him he'd treated Amy better than me for years. He showed favoritism to her, opened up to her, and shared with her in a way he never did with me, and it wasn't okay. I told him, and he called me selfish for saying how it made me feel. I told him she knows him better than I do, and it's not my fault. I said he allowed that to happen and allowed her to flaunt it smugly. He walked away from the conversation. Dad decided the two of us needed family therapy yesterday. He came out with it from nowhere. He said it's the only way to fix it. I told him family therapy won't fix us when he can't even stay and have a conversation with me. He told me I used to be willing to try and now I'm not, and it's not okay. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He expects you to want a relationship when he's shown that he isn't willing to work towards it. He wants you to do all the heavy lifting while he puts in no effort, which is wrong. I'm going to be honest, it was good for him. He got to feel great that you wanted his attention while he could pick and choose when he'd give you a crumb of attention. Honey, have the therapy for you. Don't have it to fix the relationship. Therapy can help build a firm foundation for future relationships. Your mom died when you were young and your brain injury has lost memories of your time together. Your relationship with your dad is deteriorating and now you've found a relative who is giving you love. Your dad is jealous. These things will fester and eat away at you, and therapy can be a safe space for you. Best wishes.